Hello and welcome to Cartola FC English, the best English content on Cartola FC, also the only English content on Cartola FC you can find. Welcome to Game Week 11. My name is Sean. Let's get into the week. We'll start with a review of last week, and it was a great week for me. 90.5 points. That was a full 35 points above the average, almost up to 150 Cartola bucks, so we are looking nice. And yeah, it was a great week for me. It was a bit fortunate with Flamengo's clean sheet. I did have Cunha. He had a massive score. Bruno as well. Only defender not to get a clean sheet was Marlon, and he ended up with 6.6 points. He's just a beast. He gets tackles. It doesn't matter if he doesn't get a clean sheet or not. He's always going to rack up the points, so that's nice. Flamengo against Gremio was the matchup I targeted over. I think a lot of people targeted Corinthians at home to Cuiabá, and Cuiabá's been kind of sneaky. They haven't given up too many chances, and they've tightened it up here in the last month or so. So Cuiabá, the name, you might expect them to be an easy target. However, they have looked decent, and they have held their own. Flamengo fortunate to get a clean sheet against Gremio. I think Gremio hit the post like 5 times. Suarez hit the post twice on one shot, so it was crazy for them not to concede. However, we'll take it. 2 weeks ago, we were unlucky against it was Palmeiras against Coritiba, and Coritiba scored a fluke goal in the dying minutes, so that was unlucky. We were unlucky 2 weeks ago, lucky this week. That's the way things go. Midfielders didn't really do much for me. However, all my attackers did score. I almost had Bruno Rodriguez, did shout him on the video last week. Ended up going Cano, so it could have been even better. However, it was kind of shocking to see Pedro, my captain, on the bench. Very fortunate that he did come on at halftime, and he scored a very beautiful goal. So that was nice. So a bit fortunate this week. I think we're into the top 30K, so looking pretty good there for our end of the season goal of top 10K. Let's take a look at the XG tables. XG tables, yeah, you can see there on the left, 26K, 99.4 percentile. Had a couple nice weeks back to back. XG tables, very shocking to see Cruzeiro, a team a lot of people, including myself, have overlooked. They are flying as far as the XG tables go. Number 1 spot, Botafogo you would expect, as Tiquinho Suarez cannot be stopped. Flamengo, Atlético Mineiro, Atletico Paranaense is there as well. Gremio up there in the green, as well as Sao Paulo. Gremio and Sao Paulo have nice matchups at home this week. Shocking to see Palmeiras down there in 8th. I think many people would consider Palmeiras to be the most consistent, most complete, maybe the favorites to win the league this season. So it is weird to see them down there in 8th. Bottom of the table, Santos is now bottom. Wild to see them there in the 20th spot. However, they do have Marcus Leonardo coming back, so should help their cause. For defenders, you can see a lot more green. Palmeiras, Botafogo, Atlético Mineiro are kind of the top tier of defenses I trust week in and week out, home and away. Surprising to see Corinthians and Cuiabá 3rd and 5th. Corinthians has some really cheap options in defense if you are on a budget. And Cuiabá, a team, you might see Cuiabá and you might target the other team's attacking players. Maybe you shouldn't do that because they are in 5th. So they have tightened it up. Flamengo down there in 15th. Surprising to see them. They have been a bit fortunate, as I mentioned, to keep clean sheets. Here are the matchups for next week. It's important to note there is a break, so no matches this weekend. The next matchups will be on Wednesday. So Sao Paulo, Atlético Paranaense, Cruzeiro, and Fortaleza, those are the first 2 matches. We will know those lineups. That's going to be nice. As we mentioned, Cruzeiro, very strong attacking team, and they do have options to pick. Sao Paulo, very strong team at home. They did have a flawless record at home until Palmeiras last weekend, and many would say Sao Paulo outplayed Palmeiras. So they have nice options. We'll go over those. And even Atletico Paranaense is a pretty strong team. Has some sleeper picks in the midfield if you want to go with them. There's no really, home run standout option as far as heavy favorites go. Vasco is crazily the highest favorite on this thing here, but they're on a huge losing streak. I don't think many people trust them. Gremio at home to American Mineiro. I think many people will circle that matchup. Luis Suarez is a really good captaincy option. Santos favorited at home to Corinthians. I'd stay away from Santos until they prove they can create more chances. Fluminense faces a strong Atletico Mineiro. Palmeiras on the road to Bahia could be an interesting matchup to target. Botafogo on the road. Flamengo on the road. So yeah, maybe the top 4 teams, you could say Botafogo, Flamengo, Atletico Mineiro, and Palmeiras. They're all on the road this week. So it's a very interesting week matchup-wise. One that might lead to more Sao Paulo players, more Gremio players. For attackers, we mentioned Tiquinho Suarez has been unstoppable this season. His XG is right up there at the top with Paulinho. High price, high MPV, but it's going to be hard not to pick him this week. His average has been outstanding, and he does face Cuiabá. Cuiabá not the pushover that many would expect, as we went over before. However, Tiquinho Suarez pretty much scores every week. The only reason we didn't have him last week is because he was questionable to start. However, he did start and he scored 2 goals. Missed a penalty, got the rebound, but ended up with a nice brace there. Palmeiras on the road to Bahia. Palmeiras, as you know, strong attacking team. However, they've slipped out of the green there on the XG. They do have that 3-headed monster with Dudu, Arthur, and Rony. All those 3 players are nice picks. If I went one, I do like Dudu here on this XG chart. He is the highest XG by far. Arthur does pass the eye test. Rony's only scored in 1 league game this season. So I would go Dudu if I had to go Palmeiras. However, Luis Suarez, as we talked before, maybe the best captaincy option. He does face American Mineiro, and American Mineiro has given up the 2nd most points to attackers so far this season, so could be a high-scoring matchup there and a fun little matchup to watch. Luis Suarez, high average despite getting off to a slow start this season, so I do like him. Also, Cruzeiro, number 1 in the XG chart. They have some nice options, Alberto and Bruno Rodriguez. Bruno has a bit of a high MPV, so I do like Alberto, a bit cheaper as well. And we will know if Alberto is confirmed to start, as they are the first matchup of the week. So yeah, I like Caleri at home as well. For midfielders, we said it before in prior videos. It's a thin position this year. It was a thin position last year as well. It being so thin, we do have 2 kind of strong standout options week in and week out. Rafael Veiga for Palmeiras and Arrascaeta for Flamengo. They have the highest ceiling. They're the most explosive players. I know they have busted the last few weeks. So yeah, it's kind of boom or bust, but I'm okay taking that risk as the other midfielders are not really killing it. So I like Veiga. I like Arrascaeta. They do have low MPVs. The only reason I wouldn't pick them is when they have high MPVs, or if they have an injury risk. Vitor Bueno and Nestor are interesting options. Most weeks I would stay away from them as they're rotation risks. However, they play each other. They're the first matchup of the week, so we will know if they are starting. So do kind of like them as that third option. Also, Gremio has a couple picks as well. Cristaldo and Bitello. Cristaldo is kind of the same story with Nestor and Bueno as he's pretty much a confirmed starter, but he might not play the full 90. I don't expect any of those players to play more than 75 minutes. However, Bitello is probably going to play the full 90, so that is an advantage for him. However, Cristaldo is on penalties, most likely on penalties for Gremio. This chart does not include penalty data, so yeah, Vega's XGA would be higher if it did. Same with Cristaldo. Also, they faced America Mineiro. America Mineiro has given up the most penalties in the league so far this season, so I do really like Cristaldo as a pick. For defenders, we talked about Marlon. He's just a really outstanding option every week so far. It doesn't matter if he faces a strong opponent. If he faces a strong opponent, he's going to get more tackles. If he faces a weaker opponent, he has the highest or a higher chance at a clean sheet. Also a higher chance at getting a goal and assist as well. His XG is pretty high, so do like Marlon. 5.3 is a low MPV for him, so Marlon's a lock for me. Other options defensively, there's not too many, standout clean sheet picks this week, so I do like going for the strong defenses we know, and Palmeiras is exactly that. Piqueires gets forward, Maiki gets forward, and they face Bahia, who has given up the most points to laterals so far this season. For center backs, yeah, there's not too many high clean sheet options. If you wanted to go cheap, Corinthians has some nice picks. They face the 20th XG attacking team in Santos on the road. Vasco da Gama faces Goiás. If you wanted to go cheap, however, those options do not come with attacking threats like the Palmeiras guys do. So Gustavo Gomes 0.30 XGA. That's the same XGA as Pedro for Flamengo has this season. Pretty crazy stat there. So Gustavo Gomes is going to be in my team. Missed last week, so he's a low MPV. And I might just go Luan. I would go Cuesta for Botafogo, but he is a higher MPV, so I like Luan as well. Goalkeeper is more wide open than the laterals and center backs go. Cunha for Flamengo. 5.0 saves per match. Also, his opponent, Bragantino, shoots a lot. He's a pretty good pick. If MPV didn't matter, I would pick Cunha, no doubt. However, his MPV is 8.6. Compare that to Grando's at a negative 1.1, almost a 10-point difference. So I'm leaning towards Grando here. Yeah. And, Grando faces American Mineiro. American Mineiro shoots quite a bit. So it does have a chance to get a lot of saves here. Here's my team as it stands. You can see I went Abel Ferreira. I do like Palmeiras options. As the manager, this team does cost quite a bit, almost a full 150. If you wanted to go cheaper, you could go cheaper center backs. Also, if you're really struggling Cartola bucks wise, like if you have less than 120, I think I would fade Chiquinho Suarez this week and go for like a Caleri, just because Chiquinho Suarez MPV is pretty high. You also have, I would go probably Caleri there. If you go cheaper mids, maybe instead of Vega, get Nestor for Sao Paulo. Here's the most selected team so far this week for the masses. Pretty similar to my team. The last 2 weeks I had quite a different team. I loaded up on Palmeiras, then I loaded up on Flamengo. This team's more along the same lines as this the most selected team. So anyways, that is it for this week. If you enjoyed, give it a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.